And our why today, why would any of the young men accused of killing Preston Lord ask the guy who just pled guilty in the case for legal help? If you'll recall, William Owen Hines pled guilty to manslaughter. He ends up getting 12 years for that and then an additional 5 years for some other related crimes that were going on, 17 years total. And we kind of thought at the time, well, maybe they cut a plea deal with this guy. This was the first guy to plead. We thought
prosecutors did. Yeah.
Prosecutors did. We thought, well, maybe they're going to use him in future trials to testify against some of these other guys. Now we have this meeting that goes on, the complex case management conference, where we find out, according to one of the attorneys of one of the other accused, Trusted Billy, they actually want to call on Hines to testify for the defense. That surprised me. So we called in our own expert, Ashley Holden, ABC 15 reporter who was one of the very first people to ever start covering this case long before it came into the consciousness even of the Gilbert police. Ashley was all over this. Ashley, do we have an inclination as to why in the world you'd be calling on the guy that just pled guilty to testify for the defense?
So, and I want to be clear kind of how this all happened. So this was actually Talon Vigil's attorney.
Oh, my apologies.
Filed.
Okay.
Yeah, Talon Vigil's attorney. We actually have those documents today. I'm going to post them. And so obviously he said that with Hines's attorney present and after he was sentenced, they went and interviewed him with his permission, and they intended to send that interview to prosecutors. He brought this up yesterday. And I want to let you guys know what yesterday was really kind of when they give all their updates to the judge, they talk about scheduling, they talk about where they're at with each of their clients' case. And so when it was Talon Vigil's turn, his attorney said this. Now, we don't know what Hines said. We don't really know what direction this is going in, but we do know that Hines did speak to police and was interviewed by officers. And we have that in multiple court documents. And that he did give officers an account of people that were there and their alleged actions. And that includes Talon Renner, Trusted Billy. Those were some of the names he told police. And I'm going to actually post that portion of the court document that we have. But again, we don't know. All this is being brought up. And kind of as you have seen throughout, we have different court filings that come up at different times. So we just had one about Jacob Meisner that was filed by prosecutors that had other alleged details. And I think, like I've said throughout this process, we don't have everything that prosecutors have. We don't know everything that now these defense attorneys have. So some of this is coming out in these court filings, and we are seeing it. But that was something that perked my ears up. I was like, oh, okay, that is their intent. Now, Talon Vigil actually has oral arguments that are supposed to take place on the 20th, and we have been waiting for that. That is to remand the grand jury, a process that we saw play out with other defendants, and it was denied. So we're going to see what happens with that. But yesterday, I was also surprised that so many people showed up in person. At other times, we've seen people appear virtually, but 5 of the defendants were in court. The only person that was not in court was Jacob Meisner. We were told he was not transported, and his attorney asked that his appearance be waived, so it ultimately was. So we kind of had a big group in there and a lot actually taking place.
All right, and Meisner was the guy that just recently was actually in the news. He's the only one who didn't bond out. All right, Hines is in custody now because he pled guilty. But
and Meisner turned down that plea deal or possible plea agreement the other day as well.
Ashley Holden from ABC 15, reporter who's been all over the Preston Lord murder case from the very, very beginning. Could we see a situation where this William Owen Hines, the guy that pled guilty to the manslaughter, has already been sentenced? Is it possible we see him testify for the defense in one case, for instance, for this Talon Vigil kid, and then maybe for the prosecution in another case, depending on how his story, was told to the police?
These are great questions, and we're going to have to see really first what happens with all of these different cases. So right now we have a trial date of July 21st, and that's coming up. So there's really so much to be done before we would get to, even that point. We have to see if that trial date stands, which it sounds like it might not. All of the defense attorneys were saying that it was unrealistic. So we have a final trial management conference that's coming up July 14th, and it sounds like the judge will decide then. Then will these cases be severed? Will other people take plea agreements? We know that there are several settlement conferences coming up, another for Jacob Meissner because his was reset. If you guys remember, you were just mentioning, we did have a settlement conference for him. He did not take the plea agreement. So we're coming back again, same day on the 20th. So that is going to be a busy day. And then we also have Taylor Sherman, who has a settlement conference coming up on the 17th. In terms of plea agreements, there have been no other ones that have come forward. They did address that in court. So we still have a lot of legal things to get through, and I'm not sure the answer to that question just yet.
Ashley Holden, the tremendous reporter at ABC 15, our TV partner. Ashley, how well, I just want to get some backstory from you a little bit here. 7 accused Gilbert goons. William Owen Hines has now pled guilty, so 6 that are still awaiting court cases or have to work their way through the system. How well did all these guys know each other? I think a lot of people assume that all 7 of these guys were buddies, that they hung out together, they all end up at this party. You've seen countless hours of video, texts. What can you tell us in brief about how well these 7 knew each other?
Well, it's clear to say that obviously, what prosecutors say is that they were all at this party at the same time. Obviously, the East Valley I describe it as a big, small town. A lot of people know each other. And so in terms of social media and things like that, we have gone through and we have been able to see, who was following who. We know that there have been alleged messages that have been sent by some of these defendants. But in terms of each one of their different relationships to each other, I believe that we'll get a much clearer picture of all of these different things as court continues.
All right, Ashley Holden, ABC 15 reporter. Ashley, thank you so much for giving us the insight into the latest on this conference hearing. There's so much to sort through. We appreciate you. Thank you so much.
Of course, anytime.
Now, one other true crime story that we're keeping a very close eye on is the tale of 2 teenagers who innocently went camping a week ago and then never came home. We'll find out what the latest is on that, as the details seem a bit sketchy right now. That is next, the Chris and Joe Show, KTAR News. It was upsetting when I saw the news this week about the young, I don't know if they were a couple or not, but the young man and woman from Arcadia High School who went camping. This is something I did when I was in high school all the time. Go camping. An 18-year-old and a 17-year-old. Pandora, and I'm going to slaughter her name.
Jolsrud is what it looks like to me.
Jolsrud, okay. And then Evan Clark, all right. They go camping by Payson, and they end up being murdered. They get shot while they're there. We were so fortunate that Ashley Holden was with us in our last segment talking about what was going on, the latest with the Gilbert goons accused in the Preston Lord murder. She's also been watching the latest on this murder, and Ashley has been kind enough to hang on through the news break to stick with us here. What's the situation here, Ashley? I mean, all I basically get from any reporting I see so far is they went camping and somebody shot them. That's about all I can see.
We really don't have a lot of details here. Evan Clark, Pandora Jolsrud, and I'm going to tease ahead. One of our reporters, Jane Caffrey, actually this morning sat down with Evan's dad and is going to have that exclusive interview on ABC 15.
Oh, great.
We really don't have a lot of details. So Evan's dad said that he went camping. We know that. We also saw on the medical examiner's website that their deaths were listed as homicides. And we also know from the Maricopa County Sheriff's Office that they were both shot. But in terms of what happened, any other details, we really don't have a lot. I was out at a memorial that was created by students of Arcadia High School, their friends, and I saw both Pandora and Evan's family out there adding to the memorial. So many people just in shock, grieving, and this has to be really hard. We've seen so many different high school students having to go through really tragic, traumatic events, and this is another one. And these kids were very protective of the memorial, and they told us, these are our friends. And I think that many of them were still very much in shock. But in terms of the investigation, this area is so remote. We have drone video of it, and it is very, very remote out there. There are not a lot of details coming out of the sheriff's office at this point. So it will be, I haven't even seen the interview that Jane has done yet. So it'll be really interesting to hear from Evan's dad. We have been, working to learn more about both these teens, and they just seemed, completely beloved. So many people remembering them. They both have GoFundMes that were up. And I've texted a little bit with Pandora's mom, and she said that her daughter had a special way of loving everyone and making people feel loved. So very, very tragic.
18-year-old Pandora, 17-year-old Evan, they go out camping just off the State Route 87 near Mount Ord, north of Sunflower, according to the Maricopa County Sheriff's Office. Ashley Holden, reporter at ABC 15, our TV partner, joins us. Ashley, you've covered a lot of crime stories in the Valley in your time here. Do you have any sense, would investigators from the Maricopa County Sheriff's Office, would they ask the public for help if they were close to cracking the case? Or is the sense that aside from the fact that these two teens were shot in the wilderness, they really don't have much to go on and they really need a tip from the public?
Well, they are asking for tips, and they do that, right? But we see them a lot of times, put out, if they have a car that they need help identifying, if they're in a situation where they need the public's help, sometimes they will put out those photos. Obviously, we haven't seen that. Something I think about when I cover older cases or cases that are in these remote areas, there's less people, there's less cameras, right, that we have on the sides of homes now that can help so much with some of these details, spotting cars, things like that. They don't have that out there.
Right.
So in terms of how they start that investigation and what they look at, they're probably going to have to, start looking at traffic cams and times of day and who was in the area and trying to track down anything they can because it is such a remote area. So you can see the challenges that these investigators probably have. But I do know that Pandora's parents, they also put out the call saying that they wanted tips and they're hoping that someone can help. And that's where we're at. It's tough. It's a tough one.
All right. Ashley Holden, ABC 15 reporter. One more question. Ashley, as Joe mentioned, you've covered a lot of crime stories in your career. Have you ever covered any crime that seems so random? I mean, at this point, so few details. We're all left speculating. Is there a weird axe murderer on the loose in the wilderness somewhere? I know
or was
they
it
were
like
shot.
A grieved boyfriend or girlfriend?
But it seems so random right now.
I hate to say that I cover cases that seem like this all the time. We have a story that we're running tonight about a 90s case where two Glendale girls were reported missing. They only had about one piece of information and a possible sketch, and their remains were found in Yavapai County months later. We have, the Emily Pike case, which is so tragic. And she was also found so far away from her Mesa group home. Obviously, very different cases, but when you start and you think about them, some of them, share a little bit of similarity, remote areas, things like that. And maybe how investigators start their investigation.
All right. Great answer. Appreciate that. Ashley Holden.
Ashley Holden, ABC 15, our TV partner, tremendous reporter over there. Thank you so much, Ashley. Couldn't do it without you.
Of course. Thank you, guys.
We'll look forward to that interview tonight, again, on
exclusive with ABC 15.
TV partner at ABC. Very good.
Thanks for watching The Chris and Joe Show. Click to see more from Chris and Joe and tap the button in the middle to subscribe to KTAR News.